let's get into it. LucifroN VortiX, a best of 5 to decide who gets that third place.
And opening up with Ottomans versus English. We've seen this one quite a few times now in Empire Wars. Ottomans obviously being one of the favorite, in English also just generally being super robust with a lot of their TC builds and being able to play very aggressively and defensively at the same time, benefiting a lot from that wealth of resources at the start of the game. And we see a really interesting opening already. The man-at-arms on the field very shortly for VortiX.
Yeah, this has been growing in popularity. Actually, I think the first player I saw doing this, shout out to Crackety, like when the practice began, this was his first thought, is this whole idea of surging units. And I think it is really effective against most civs. It's also quite nice in this matchup because you can kind of keep them as you go into Age 2, right? Like I think there's only one civ you wouldn't want to open men-at-arms against, weirdly enough, and it's probably French because they're heavy knights, right? Like heavy knights of the French easily dispatch men-at-arms.
Yeah,
Man,
and
didn't we see this yesterday? I'm pretty sure we saw this yesterday.
I think so. I'm not exactly sure. All the games are kind of a blur. It was a lot.
Okay, so we saw it against, I think it was Malians that this was done against, an English
Right,
Malian
yeah.
matchup, right? And I think that was the Marine Lords series, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say. It might have been VortiX's. But you're right, they meshed together. But the cool thing is, in that series, it was done on the gold vein. But the interesting part is they're prioritizing stone here, which is pretty smart, right? It's like a cool mutation on the build because Ottomans need stone more than gold.
Yeah, and in this format, adding second TCs, like you can do it really quickly, right? And you can be putting on aggression and then really quickly switch just a smaller percentage of your economy towards town centers, and you can add that town center on the way up, even to castle age and stuff like that. We've seen a lot of like 2 TCs, semi-FCs behind aggression like this, and controlling both of these forward stones from LucifroN is going to put a lot of pressure on him. He has to find a way to get rid of this. Usually it's against these towers, they can quickly add in the rams, maybe some cavalry here. It looks like double stable going to be the play for LucifroN. So that seems like it's going to be a lot of investment. I guess the question is, what is VortiX going to be planning behind this? Because obviously this is only going to be temporary. Ottomans are going to field quite a lot of units very quickly here. He even has the healing monks out already, so that first VP going to be clutch here for taking this down, and he's sending some bills forward, maybe for repairs? What?
No, there's no way. Really? Like, what? Really?
I guess he can heal forever, maybe? Is this idea?
That is a cool idea here, right? But like, it's very dangerous long-term to have gone for the imams early because usually a natural flow point for English is to gain the lombos. But I guess the logic here is, as you said, he's got like double stables, right? So this should deter VortiX from just thinking, yeah, counter-hall spam upon Tekka.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Blacksmith should still go down. I think there's just too much torch damage, right? The other thing you have to be careful of is once this tech up's complete, we're going to be looking at arrow slits, and that's when these imam shenanigans can't work in this area anymore.
Yeah, that's why I think a lot of the civs that we see get tower rush, they do try to transition rams. Like we see Mongols doing this kind of strat a lot in Empire Wars, so it very frequently, or the Barbican, right, as well. We see a lot of like early ram play because you have the economy to do so. But here, he's just gonna have to back up. He did not have enough units, but he's just gonna heal up, buy himself a little more time. He didn't lose any units, I believe, so it's kind of clean sailing. But I don't know, this still delaying him a lot.
It's pricey to lose the blacksmiths as well when you've tried to like add in the double stables. Even in Empire Wars, like every little bit matters. It's a small edge to get. And if you think about like the maths, that sure the blacksmiths was free, but you need another one, and that's kind of covered most of the cost of this investment from VortiX on the outposts.
Yeah, now the horsemen are going to loop around, try and catch these reinforcements. The longbowmen are rallying across the map, so they could be caught out. And we do see VortiX onto the stone now, so he's looking to add his own TCs behind this aggression. Maybe the 2 TC into King's Palace, so you kind of have that 3 TC buildup. But if these spot, he find these bowmen on the way across, the longbowmen could just go down.
But that's sick. Check this. So, like, it might still be a TC like you were talking about, but the opening stone is for the double fortification on the outpost, which is going to make them immovable. LucifroN can eventually go into rams, right? But like right now, his opening has just been raw Sipahi, so he doesn't have many units to build into siege engineering.
Exactly, he doesn't have. He just has the 2 spearmen that the
military
school was able to produce. Yeah, sorry, I was trying to say barracks, but I was like, it wasn't that. Yeah, trying to get those 2 units to build it would take quite a long time. So adding in the archers, as the Ottomans often do, so we could be seeing the meta VP coming in next. Oh man, but this position just feels so good for VortiX, right? Like,
yeah, this this is the strong thing about the Sipahi, right? Is like you can just park yourself, cut the reinforcements, and I honestly feel like these guys are scarier than knights now. You get that feeling as well, right? Like they're so much better at just quickly yoinking villages when you're not looking.
Yeah, especially with that ability, you know, they just pop it, and if you don't have melee units around hitting them, their DPS is just absolutely insane. So it could be quite scary here if he runs into it, but he does have 3 spearmen, so I think he's going to be more than okay to ward off these Spahi, even do a little chip damage to them with the longbowmen. Scouts going to be spotting each other.
So neither player has actually gone for any blacksmith upgrade at all, which is kind of surprising here, right? Like LucifroN scaling Sipahi against English, typically you just instinctually immediately get into the undermesh. But he's forgone it so far. Not able to get enough gold due to that early raid from the longbows. And meanwhile, VortiX more focused on the TC. TC that he should be able to get up with this many spears.
Yeah, quite easily too. And this TC on the hunt tells me he just wants to go Castle Age right behind this. So he's just going to rally a ton of ills to the hunt here, as well as the gold, and he's comfortable with this position. He's still denying the stone, even so much of that LucifroN has purchased stone with gold just to be able to build buildings, and he hasn't even done so yet. So he bought this 100 stone a while ago, and it's just been sitting there in his bank, and he's like, oh, I guess military schools aren't worth it right now. It's not all-out aggression. But these longbowmen going to be looping around the back. No spearmen to support, so the Spahi coming back could kill them.
Yeah, and now VortiX is playing a little bit more on the blind side, right? He's still got the 2 forward outposts, but now he's down to 1 scout. Another interesting detail is that military on the front side of his base. I don't think LucifroN was able to sneak another blacksmith in, right? So issue with that is unless you want to delete it and replace it anew, you aren't being efficient. You're not getting these Sipahi for free at the pace you normally would.
Oh my gosh, if LucifroN doesn't notice this raid, he could kill 2 or 3 vills here pretty quickly. Not sure if those longbows are in vision. 1 vill gonna go down. He's 1 longbow short of the full kill. Does split the shot at the end there. 2 vills go down, a 3rd on the way maybe. He's limping away. He's got 1 leg, but he'll get away. And no spearmen here means these longbows are as good as dead. But, I mean, potentially worth their value. 2 vill kills this early on when your opponent doesn't have a TC is vital, right? Like, this is huge damage. Even going to get a 3rd. What a smart play there.
It's going to be 4. I think
no
he can
way.
get the 4th one hit. No. He
No,
loses sight for a second there, so it's going to go down. But, I mean, the tricky thing about this, right, is like, it's not just the fact, hey, you know, was this worth it? Because you got a few villager kills, but that was a lot of longbows. It's the fact that LucifroN's army had to come all the way back across to his side of the map when it should be pressuring VortiX. And now VortiX, he buys essential time here. White Tower on the way up. If LucifroN hadn't come back, this wouldn't be possible.
And that's going to protect his 2 golds on the front of his base and his new TC that he just built, keeping everything nice and snug. That's a great position for this White Tower. Behind this, we should just see it pumping out knights, probably, so that he can easily beat the Spahi and the Archer Mass here from LucifroN. The metas are on the field, though. This timing could be a little dicey, but it's going to go up. Just a matter of how many units.
I mean, it's going to cost you a few spears, right? But the issue here is that choke point. Like, it's so hard to use this Sipahi. I feel like whenever you have to raid some, like, golds, or maybe even the farms against the English is tough, right? It's almost like you need to be able to attack a wood line where there's a lot of open ground for you to exploit.
Yeah, and LucifroN's only way of dealing damage right now is to dive one of these 2 TCs. He's going to have to loop around the back away from this White Tower and just dive and take a lot of damage and risk. I mean, diving English is never feels good. Their spearmen are really scary when they're defensive. Their TCs shoot a lot. Like, it could get really dicey here. But no knights on the way. Actually going man-at-arms, I think, from the White Tower. Which is an interesting choice as well, but not going to be as threatening. And here's the dive under the TC.
The villagers will just retreat towards the White Tower. Now, this is causing a little bit of concern in VortiX's eco, while at home, LucifroN is beginning to tech up. And check that, also getting into siege engineering. So he's going to try and keep the pressure on here. But it feels like you need to be reaching around the second TC. Like, with this many Sipahi, it is feasible to burn that down.
Yeah, he has to loop around to the side, either attack the primary TC or the second one, maybe try and ignore the White Tower. But now, you know, he's got quite a lot of units out to defend, and I guess LucifroN's just going to have to back up, wait for his first Mangonel, maybe 2 Mangonels, and then he can make another attempt at this base. But VortiX is just going to be building a huge lead here because he's on 2 TC and LucifroN isn't.
Yeah, and the tough part is like that mango play, usually you think it's high value because VortiX is scaling to Lombos again, but this is kind of different to your standard English build, right? Like when we're talking King's Palace, it's very difficult for English to make a siege transition. When you have White Tower, it's easy peasy because that is a double workshop for you. So Now, I'm not sure if the Mangoes are going to find the big wallop that Lucy's going to be looking for in this game. The positive, at least, is he gets them for free.
Yeah, getting a few mangonels on the field will be clutch for him, but I don't know if it's going to be in time. VortiX is just still scaling his economy, and honestly, his food bank is pretty scary. 1,200 food per minute. I mean, dare I say? Okay, no, there's no way he just stops setting up, right? That'd be crazy. But yeah.
Could you imagine, like, guys, everyone's thinking about fast imp Ottomans, but have you heard of the fast imp English?
I mean, the Berkshire is scary, man. But you know, it's a bit rough here. I don't know if VortiX has enough units to move out here. 29 to 40. I mean, he doesn't really care about the archers that LucifroN has right now. So maybe he feels confident in this. But his spearmen, he doesn't have that many infantry to deal with the cavalry, right? Like the spy are going to come in and wipe him if he's not very careful here.
Also earlier than he should be out here. Like, look at the armor clad. Still about, what, 45 seconds away. So this is a very delicate point to take a fight when you consider the Sipahi upgrade has come through. But instead of going for that, LucifroN's going to look to trade.
Really interesting choice. I don't think LucifroN was expecting VortiX to move out here with his mass. Because you can see now his cavalry are like, oh, coming back. They're turning around there. Like, they did not expect him to be here. If he loses too many spearmen, though, to these archers, then these Spy are just going to come in and wipe this up.
Key thing right now, though, is these archers are not upgraded. The spears are, so they should be a little bit more tanky against that. The upgrade only just kicked in. Looks like he's going to cut off the reinforcements. We talked about how effective the Sipahi are at doing this, especially the way they're able to stab past each other. Even these chunky men-at-arms can easily be whittled down.
Yeah, that will be the case. But the Met are going to be moving to the back of the formation. Thankfully, they're going to be sprinting away with that VP, so no issues there. Oh, yeah. The other Imam going to get caught.
Yeah, he already lost one of them. Yeah, so he lost one of the original ones, and he started to rescale them. But this is actually an amazing timing because of that. Like, if VortiX sat in the base, he ideated that these relics were just naturally going to go in the hands of the Ottomans. So although it seems like he kind of jumped the gun coming out, it really does change the way Lucy now has to kind of approach this mid-map.
Yeah, and this army for Ottomans just keeps getting scarier and scarier. There's going to be a timing here where he has 3 mangonels, and VortiX still doesn't have a springald. Of course, the White Tower could just pump 1 or 2 out, but he just doesn't have the wood right now to do so. So it's a bit scary. If that second mangonel comes out, LucifroN could start posturing for a really strong fight. Although, the cavalry...
Okay, quick reactions there. It's so hard to catch these units naturally fast, but the Mets are making it even easier to get out dodge. And to your point in the mangonels, right, the counter at springalds, it's even worse for VortiX, because, yeah, he doesn't have the wood to produce them, but also, we were talking about that as a defensive maneuver. The White Tower's on the other side of the field. You won't have greased axles unless you build a siege workshop anyway, so it's kind of difficult. It looks like instead VortiX is just trying to contain, and with him on the stone like that, I think the goal here now is to go for that keep drop, that signature keep drop we see so often here on Regions.
Can we check what's training the Jans? Is that the... It shouldn't be the military schools at this point, right? Military schools are on Spa here, right?
It is, right?
The Rangers are on the Jans.
Okay,
yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure that, because that would mean a very interesting VP choice at this stage of the game.
That's a little bit early for him. I mean, the spears here, they should get reasonable exchanges, but not too many archers this time being. Mangonel shots also not targeting onto the Lombos. And VortiX, so he's just trying to buy that time. He's getting close to what he needs for the keep, but he's going to have to keep up the pressure. Not able to dodge that Mangonel shot, so a heavy hit to him. Second wave coming in, and it really feels like LucifroN is just breaking. This attack speed is evening out the advantage the Ottomans would normally have. And at the end of the fight, still enough Lombos to keep any reinforcements away. Enough men-at-arms to now clean up the siege.
Yeah, this is a huge win for VortiX because this eco lead is now just going to keep going. Finally, the Mangonel gets taken down. It got a lot of value in that fight, but not enough value for LucifroN, who's now going to have to rebuild his army. He doesn't really have the economy that can easily replace this. Not as quickly as VortiX will be able to now, because if we check his base, has he done? It kind of looks like he has a pretty full farm transition going on. Yeah, this is... English is about to be online, man. This is about to get scary.
The farm's ahead of the White Tower. He's like, there's not a care in the world right now. He's never leaving his base. I'm just going to bog him down. And LucifroN, he knows what's going to happen next. Look how hard he goes onto that stone. This is going to be a keep race into the center of the map, and they both know it.
VortiX actually isn't training any units right now. Does he not have enough production buildings, perchance? Like, maybe he's going to run into a little bit of trouble here.
his food looks kind of underwhelming for the stage as well, right? With that many farms, like remember, you were talking about the farms, he only just set them up, still is, so...
Yeah, it's about to kick in. He just built like 10 in the south, 10 in the north. Like that's, he's about to have a lot of farm income. But yeah, right now it's a little dicey. Maybe the transition wasn't that smooth.
Well, here's the thing, right? Like I'd be worried if LucifroN after taking that fight was diving across the map, but oh my god, no. Like he's wasting time trying to take out that outpost because he feels it's a necessity. He's dropping a keep in his own base. He just gave 3 8k golds over to VortiX at a point where he was actually vulnerable.
Yeah, Region's one of those maps where you have to... Oh, and he's going to recalculate. He reconsiders. He says, oh, you're going for a keep in the middle. I'm going for a keep in the middle. And now LucifroN going to have to... He might be too late. No, he should go up. But I don't know.
It's going to go off.
Depends on the fight.
But how many are you going to lose? You're going to have to fight tooth and nail over this. And I don't think you can stop the English keep at this stage. Like, your army is bigger, but it's these small choke points with the spearmen, with the men-at-arms. Going to just hold you back. And longbows, you can see that they're sniping the villagers. I love this. VortiX focusing down the builders to ensure his keep goes up first, and he'll force LucifroN back.
Yeah, we're going to have a duel of keeps here. So nobody gets the two 8Ks on the right side. The one on the left would be accessible. But,
it's like,
yeah.
It's tricky, actually, yeah, because I think if you look on the right side, even if you try to skirt the edge farthest away from the Ottoman keep, it's still in range, right? So, like, LucifroN actually did get the pristine placement. But now it's a case of, you know, are they going to try for that secondary keep drop? Is it worth it to secure the left side, or is that just going to turn into a mosh pit?
Yeah, and the keeps now for English going to be so clutch, coming in as workshops as well, producing that first trebuchet way quicker than LucifroN was able to without a workshop. So going to be applying this pressure and probably clear this up before LucifroN even really gets a chance here, although he has a lot of ills on stone, so could potentially repair for a long time, right?
So we're used to it being cheesy to repair against trebs, right? But you got to remember that this is English, and well, your keep is kind of triggering a certain aura for the English in that position, right? So these trebs are, I mean, they're more like almost, I want to say, made a few centuries later when they figured out how to optimize the mechanisms, right? They actually shoot out 40% faster.
It's like a UT, right? Yeah, no, it's kind of crazy. The English bonus network of citadels. He did get that tech, by the way, so he has the full bonus here. This raid on the farms gonna be kind of annoying here for VortiX. Actually, I don't know if he has units in the back, and it looks like he was actually considering a Berkshire drop, but this might force his units back, which means he might have to delay that drop.
Oh man, it seems so fitting that neither player still has walled this deep into the game, despite the fact that one side has Sapphire to raid with. We'll shut him down temporarily. However, VortiX, remember, he got quite a few farm clusters on the north side, so even if he's idled out back here, he's still going to be able to work with economy. Jumping the gun a bit there, jumping out of the TC, however. Let's maybe wait for them to leave.
Yeah, I really like the planning there. VortiX built those farms in the front, which you might have said, hey, that's not very smart. But look at just now. Now those farms are the safest farms he has, which are in between the White Tower and the Berkshire. Right, so really like smart base planning and just kind of understanding where the game was going before, you know, maybe we did, right? Just really smart play there. And even the Sacred Site's getting captured here by VortiX. Feeling good, man. He's feeling good.
Yeah, I mean, well, you've got these relic gatherers, right? So it's just an extra layer of effort, extra layer of return on investment. But he knows that he shouldn't be able to hold on to these. In the meantime, while that kind of distracts the supply temporarily, like I said, that Berkshire's now gone down. And if you look at what the Berkshire is, with its insane range, it will be able to support any attempts to dive the primary keep. And also will protect against any gathering that LucifroN attempts on those 2 gold veins.
Yeah, and I know it plays into English to build a Berkshire like that, but I kind of would have liked to see it kind of further to the left of that first keep. I mean, I guess that's like a really good spot, but I don't know. I would want to do one more aggressive just because...
You're a greedy boy.
I would be greedy for like the positioning and try and like really pin him off gold, because there's a chance now that maybe LucifroN can make a play for, you know, the left gold still, because it's not guaranteed to be covered by you at all times, right? But interesting.
Here's the thing. You're smeagling over the veins, but consider this. That Berkshire placement protects his other gold source.
Yeah, it keeps him completely safe. I know. It's really smart.
Oh, you're such a genius, VortiX. God.
Yeah. Being a good player and all that. That's crazy.
I mean, how good could he possibly be,
third place
right?
match being with like exceptionally good players. But the Longbowman could be getting some value there. The Trebs have moved up, so this next keep going to be under fire now. Only 400 stone in the bank for these repairs. The raid not going to do very much here. It's a spearman
Quick
right
reaction.
behind.
And he has started to wall up, so like this should probably be like the last time he gets in here for free. Any other time, he's going to have to wait his time burning through, and that is going to get noticed.
Yeah, and these spy raids just don't matter as much now that you have 114 vills. You really need to be in a position to flood these Spahian and like lose them 4 vills for it to really be effective at this stage. And LucifroN with 57 vills just does not have that. Like, he is out ecoed by 2 to 1. I'll be surprised if he's...
Right? Because like the other thing is, if you look at home, I feel like often when we see Ottomans in this position, they'll try to go for a second TC when they realize they can't like keep the aggression up. It's full 1 TC.
Well, if he gives up too much tempo, if he gives up too much time, the middle is just going to pay off and he's going to run out of gold. And that's what he's noticed now. Like, he's actually completely out of gold, right? In just a second. He's on his last little bit. He's relying on relics and a sacred site.
Now, you're saying that as if the Ottomans have not one with left. Because what we've got to keep in mind is he has got the Istanbul Observatory up. This is a civ that doesn't pay. They get the 5-finger discount when it comes to their units. And he is now getting into great bombards. I gotta say, if this matchup goes late enough, I've seen Ottomans take it 70-80% of the time. But I don't think VortiX is gonna wait that long.
Yeah, it really depends on how these next 2 fights go. He's got the eco to just flood his opponent. He's 200 pop. He's moving in. He's got 80 more population on the field than LucifroN.
Oh my god, look at those freebies. VortiX just got on the siege for free. Mangonel's going to shoot out now to return a little bit of pain, but Skrill goes down. Looks like he should end up losing Mango. He will pull in time for the repairs, but a dicey pathfinding coming out from the siege there, almost costing him dearly.
Yeah, but then he almost still gets a retaliation attack on those longbows. He just barely managed to dodge quite a lot of the damage.
Not that
still
one,
a bit
though.
dicey.
Looks like they are going to get cleaned up, so the Vanguard not able to clean up too much siege here. The Trebs, however, can start to kind of dent the base. The problem is now that you've thrown the men-at-arms away, you're going to have to forfeit over some ground.
VortiX needs to like transition into something a little more lethal, man. Like, I don't see the production here that's really that scary. Now we see the man-at-arms coming. That second wave is what he needed there at the fight before, but gonna be losing 2 trebuchets to that. And like you're saying, if LucifroN can buy enough time for himself, he could potentially scale back into this game, right? Like, the military schools are no joke with the observatory, right? So it could get nuts here, but it still looks dicey.
All right, Stormtrooper, calm down. Looks like they'll be fine. A few men-at-arms going to make their way in. And it looks like we have got the siege crews here, so those things are gigged up, right? They attack every 5 seconds if you have the meta aura alongside the crew. And that means these longbows might struggle to be the counter, the ultimate solution to the mass Janissaries.
This is starting to look really rough. I don't really see the window here for LucifroN anymore, right? Like,
you say that, but I don't vote against Ottomans anymore, my friend. Okay, I've seen some wild stuff, and to be fair, like we haven't even seen the first Great Bombard yet, and he's not been broken so far. Like his men-at-arms are just being held at bay. Although there are incendiary arrows in, and that's whittling away the Jannies, just 1 or 2 good hits could reset this again.
I don't know. The population difference is just growing and growing. Under 100 pop, feels really bad if you're LucifroN, right? That first bombard is out, so it should be able to defend.
Oh my god, look at these villages. It's the last bastion of hope for Mangonel to save the day. And he's keeping it up, but what's the cost of this? Villages going down. Now he's finding himself in a situation where he's risking being doubled up on eco. And these longbows, they're dodging, weaving, and still assassinating everything around there.
That was nuts, Micro from VortiX to keep that alive. Bold play from LucifroN. He doesn't have a huge economy, so spending it like this could be risky, but I guess these mill schools are really, really strong, keeping him kind of up there in mill count. But it's just going to be a remax behind this from VortiX, and it's going to get really dicey, I think. But here we have the bombard coming up. This trebuchet should go down pretty quickly. He's not watching. Oh. Bang.
And now that's important. If he didn't get that up, this wouldn't be possible. This keep play couldn't happen. So that's a really critical window because VortiX wasn't scaling more siege yet. He's being pretty greedy if you think about it, just trying to brute force. Instead,
this bombard could one-shot this. But
yeah,
the bombard is right there.
It's not looking. It's not looking. What?
Does he not see it? Oh, he has.
There's no way he can't see this, right? Oh my god.
Oh, well, it
Oh,
doesn't matter when
no.
you're getting shots on the longbows like that, I guess. You can just kill to keep after, right? Like, maybe it's no
Yeah.
rush.
Well, my
One
thought
shot
is like,
here while it's under construction, and it'll be, like, half health, right?
exactly. And here's the thing. My thought is like, oh, well, VortiX could just pump out Springboks, right? Look at VortiX's wood. This man's poor right now. If we check back in his base, I think he should have safe wood lines, but he was being greedy. He was trying to take away LucifroN's side of the map. Yeah, this is wild.
Yeah, I mean, LucifroN's still stabilizing at 100 population. It's not ideal with only 69 bills. Nice, but we'll see if he's able to do anything with this. He's got the first bombard. The second bombard shouldn't be too far away, and once you get 3 or 4 of those, they can be really, really menacing, functioning as essentially mangonels, right? It could get really scary.
Yeah, no, there's always an argument who's king of siege, and I think quite quickly people are agreeing on one. This is your true bombard warrior. I think the worry here is, like you say, usually when it gets to 4 is when it gets scary, but with the attack speed from the tank crew as well, it kind of feels like 3 is that golden number where you start to break everything. And VortiX, he's still not going to Horseman, man. I know it's a bit dicey up against the Ottomans, but it feels like you benefit a lot from it. Bombard stand their ground, and love the way he uses the outcropping as a choke point. His men-at-arms just scrambling over each other, begging to die first. The Lombos, I just don't know if they're doing enough damage. If it's them left over and the tank crews here, I favor these tanks.
Yeah, but the men-at-arms are whittling away at all the melee units now. They could just focus down the bombard here. If this bombard goes down, it's a huge part of this fighting force, and it's gonna go down.
He's repairing the mango. He's repairing the mango. Oh my god, no.
He just got overwhelmed here, and he's gonna call GG. Wow.
Hey,
Wow.
you know, last bastion of hope. You need to get that count up to 4, and instead he was closer to 0.
I mean, that second one took so long. Was the armory in the range of a blacksmith? It must have been, right? It's just
I hope. The
that was
Mehmed,
taking
right?
forever. Like, I thought it was only like 2 minutes, and I swear they were shooting each other for like 4 minutes there and not getting another bombard. That was a long time. There's a chance it wasn't actually. Now that I think about it, but I mean, maybe that's silly to say. I'm assuming it was.
The crazy part as well is, like, I'm wondering if he still had a mangonel logged to build and he didn't cancel it to queue the Great Bombard straight away, right? Because I think even that first Great Bombard, maybe it's just how
Oh, wow.
intense that point in this game was for him and how long it felt for just 2 minutes, but it
Mhm.
felt like it came out very late there. A tough situation. And the crazy part is that VortiX broke this with kind of what could arguably be kind of a dented a unit comp, right? Is like usually when people see these great bombards, they pivot into horsemen. But VortiX, man, he sticks to his guns and it actually works.
Well, it's scary to go horseman against Jans, right? Like
Yeah.
that's never like a comfortable like outlook, right? Horsemen really don't feel like they trade well against Jans unless you have just an insane economy to spam them with, right? And in that situation, you know, Vortex was so focused on just killing that it was pretty tricky to find that space. And now Vortex has got to be feeling pretty good, right? Like up 1-0 already in a Bo5 against his brother.
Oh, not just that. Like, you know, we didn't get a chance because we jumped in so quickly to talk about this. The bans were different. Like, meta has been Abbasid Ottomans, it feels like. We saw a lot of that yesterday. But look at what the flip side of this was. Vortex is like, no, I'm worried about Malians and I'm worried about Chinese. And it's wild that Chinese didn't get banned on both sides because this map is in here.
Yeah, getting Chinese on Warring Islands. I think there was a time where everyone was like, oh, you know, Ruse, China, HRE, all these top tier water saves. And I think with some time, it's been pretty clear. China, China's the number one water save here, right? So we'll see how it goes. I mean, French is an interesting choice. I'm curious as to what that means for LucifroN, like what his plan is. I don't really see French a lot on water maps, but you know, hey, they got the Warcog, right? Like,
Hey,
can't go wrong. One more Pierce armor or ranged armor, right?
Winston, I'll tell you what French for him on this map means. It means 2-0 for VortiX. We can have a very quick start to the day.
Well,
I
let's
think,
see it play out. Come on, come on. You got to give him a chance, right?
okay,
Who
I'll give
knows?
him
It could
10
be
minutes.
amazing.
In 10 minutes, if he's not won, he's lost the game. That's usually how this works. It's time for more of the Empires at War action. LucifroN versus VortiX. We take to Warring Islands, and on a map where Chinese has become the meta, LucifroN has it banned against him, so he has to resort to the French.
French are kind of interesting on Empire Wars for this kind of map because they do start with 3 more vills as their bonus, which could maybe help counteract the IO start here on water where you just need raw economy to pump out ships. so curious if maybe there's like a timing here that LucifroN has found that he's keen on testing out here.
Yes, I think the closest we saw to this working was a game that Dumu was playing. I can't remember which player it was up against, but it kind of felt like even though he played as clean as possible and there was some slip-ups from the Chinese player on like landmark placements, it still struggled to crack him in time. Because the issue with Chinese on this map, in this game mode, is the optimal strategy is simply to rush Imperial Age. And because of how inflated your eco is, you have the ability to do that, especially even against the French, who their timing is Castle Age, right? And the idea of these Galliuses sounds really cool because they don't have a clear counter. The issue, however, is the production speed. Like, if I told you that Bao Chuans get produced quicker than Galliuses, you would have to go... You wouldn't believe me, right? That sounds stupid. But that's how it works.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. The Chinese dock production is really insane. That bonus is quite strong, and it just complements so well their extra resources on, like, just with the officials, right? It just all flows so well. That makes China just so scary on water, even early game, even late game, and of course you get the Bao Chad Nesta Bees tech and like thunderclap bombs, and things start getting really crazy, right? Things start getting really, really crazy if we get to that stage. Usually, though, water is won a little bit earlier on these big maps like this where water is the focus, but we'll see. Sometimes you can get some surprising landings. There's all sorts of strats available, but that first, oh wow, already it goes down, and the fishing boat is going to be forced to idle.
This is really smart from VortiX because the French player would expect to get to be the aggressor first in this because of what we just said, right? Your timing is Castle Age, Chinese is Imperial, but just simply one of these archer ships, the idle time, it's going to edge out an advantage for the Chinese. That means that after this, he could just fall back, aim for Castle Age, and there's an argument that LucifroN wouldn't be able to get an army together quick enough, which is why I like that LucifroN's getting a land army together. Check this. He's grabbing knights.
Planning some sort of jump here. He's got to not give it away, but yeah, I guess he's going for some sort of transport play. I hope that wasn't envisioned, because if you give it away, it's all for nothing, right? And
yeah,
can we check VortiX's base? How susceptible is he to this knight? I guess the northern woodline maybe a little bit there. The gold is, I think the hill there is deceiving us a bit. I think that's going to be largely protected, especially with the village for garrison. I don't know how much damage this is going to do. The north side of the wood line, right? Like,
yeah, north side of the wood line, north side of that gold vein is protected, but on the wood line, yes. By the time he gets there, I think the wood would have mostly moved far enough away that all of it should be out of range of TC fire. And we have to remember, this is just one knight, and that one knight is immediately going to find good value. 2 villagers out for a stroll, and well, there are these archer ships, but the heavy armor of these knights should allow him to tank this. And looks like he's a bit hesitant, though. Spring comes out, perfect timing. Instead, he's going to have to move inland.
What is... That official was on the longest journey for some taxes, man. The lengths they go. The lengths they go for their job. He was like, "Hey, don't mind me. I got a job to do. I'm working."
You know what that
here.
is? That's like, hey, I live in the Canary Islands. You can't tax me. It's like, buddy, I'm on a yacht already on my way over. All right, we're getting our bank.
He's like, excuse me, I have a job to do. Please, sir, no. I have a job to do. And good day, sir. And good day.
The best, like, I love the kind of, like, if you put this in a realism, right? So he just hopped in a village after taxing all these villagers. I wouldn't let him in my house, all right? I'd boot him out. Like, Robin Hood's going to get you, buddy.
Oh, that's pretty cruel, man. That's pretty cruel.
Hey, man.
You don't know what the tax money was going to. What if that was to the village for the school, you know?
Okay, that was going to a giant Bao Chuan. That's what that tax was going towards, all right?
There's no schools in this universe, right?
The children are not educated. The healthcare is not free, and I'm paying for Bao Chuan. Winston, what the hell?
Oh man, the knight though, he got his value, but did he? Like, it's good because it's attention, right? Like, forcing these spearmen out, it's a lot more than VortiX has invested at this point, right? Because he just had the school, right? He didn't have to build the barracks and everything, but I don't know. You don't have the chamber, which can be kind of useful at times.
What up, actually?
Because you have the market.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sorry, I get a bit distracted by that, because, like, LucifroN, I thought he was going to be going Castle Age, and his resources, I was like, something isn't right here. Look at what he's doing. He's going to try to force kind of more of an endgame state in Feudal Age, which this is pretty creative, right? Because the build that we have seen, the optimal build in a lot of people's eyes, is to rush Castle Age with French. He's not doing that at all.
Barbican going to come down in a really nice defensive spot. Not sure how much range that'll actually have to influence these fights, but the vision alone. He's moving in with the demos. Dodging. Some value.
Can he get in, though? Okay, he has to counter demo here. He goes a little bit too deep. Luckily gets the scrimmers away, but can he start targeting down the villages? This would be big here. If he brings the knight back as well, he could idle this out, because if the Barbican goes up, this is no longer an assault point for LucifroN.
Demos are coming in.
Quick reactions, though. I mean, dude, these are like the two best micros on water, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah,
this ain't going to work that easily.
Yeah, and the Barbican goes up. That's a decent spot. Again, it's not going to have the most impact, but it does create this little, like, spot where you just can't really engage under comfortably. It also eats your attack moves, which is really annoying on these water maps. Yep. I can speak from experience. When you're trying to attack move through these choke points, and, you know, 3 of your war cogs are just hitting the Barbican instead of, like, the enemy galleys that's killing your demos, it's quite sad, although the damage it does is more negligible. But if you get a garrison, it can be pretty good. So we'll see, though. He's gonna snipe there. Just a free demo goes down.
Yep, this is starting to look very underwhelming very quickly. I'm not gonna lie. The other demos are injured as well, right? So you have to take them all the way back to the dock, which is just going to allow more time for VortiX to build up what will be a superior fleet, right? Because his build faster, and also you can already see he's eking out an eco advantage.
Yeah, and with Song Dynasty now kicking in, that's another one of China's major advantages, is they accrue, like when you're in these feudal wars on water, they just accrue that villager advantage naturally, right, with Song. And it's going to compete with the French here quite nicely, and obviously French not adding TCs, China not adding TCs, they can't afford to yet, but still, you have now counteracted the French bonus, and oh man, this is dicey here, this fight. For a while there, LucifroN had more ships, but wasn't able to get enough to be aggressive, and now VortiX just has so many more ships on the field.
This feels close to this feels close to over, Winston. Yeah. Like the clock tower's coming in now, and I mean, if you had say a 10 military pop lead, you can do something here, but actually it'd have to be 20 against the Barbican. I think this is kind of, you know, etched in stone now. From this point on in this matchup, it becomes obvious, right? Like the French can't scale galleasses quick enough. By the time they get the first galleass out, it's not uncommon for the Chinese to be on their way to Imperial Age.
Yeah, this feels rough. Guildhall not even going to pay off before things get really crazy here. But I guess the clock tower also isn't really going to do a whole lot for VortiX here. I honestly, on water maps like this, I much prefer to build the vision landmark, like the Imperial Palace. Yeah, I like to build it right next to the Barbican, right? Just get all that vision. You see the entire center of the map, but VortiX doesn't seem too worried about it. He's got the HP tech coming in. That's going to give him a huge advantage here, but kind of.
Oh, that's so many demos right now coming through. Can they get the connects, though?
Yeah, they will. Oh, my God.
Oh, we get everything!
Oh, VortiX just killed the entire fleet of LucifroN. The entire fleet. There were only fishing boats on the field. There were only fishing boats. 0, 0, 0. Nothing.
Unbelievable. I mean, I said the GG was going to be in 2 or 3 minutes. We might just be close to GG now. New wave of demo is going to come out. VortiX trying to dodge. Good micro split there. So no ships really going down. I think lost 1 maybe. And now you just have to keep investing, right? That the galleasses are coming soon. Maybe then you'll see VortiX reset. But even if he does...
Transport ship, look out!
No, that's it.
Yeah, like... no, it's... Yeah, no, he had the HP upgrade, so even demos direct connecting isn't going to be the scariest thing anymore. So wow, that was
crazy.
That was decisive. Like that was nuts.
Insane.
I think that showed why we don't see French on water maps very much.
That shows why we don't see anything from Chinese.
Yeah, like the Chinese being the #1 pick on like pure water maps, like Warring Island, Archipelago, stuff like that. It's for a reason. And I think we just kind of saw it there. He was just way ahead in macro. He was up in Vills. You do more with less docks. It just all works for you so well.
Yeah, and I think the generation helps Chinese even more there, because he got, so usually when you see Warring Islands, one side gets the extrusion and the other one gets the flat chester, right? Like it's literally just a front side that lets you fish more efficiently because there's more deep ones near you. But when you get the extrusion like VortiX did on his island, you saw what he done, right? You drop a Barbican, and even that clock tower we said that seemed kind of useless, you can eventually use Springles there. So I think that's a defensive edge that you have that maybe in LucifroN's mind, this strategy has worked in the past when it's the other way around, right? When the Chinese player has the flat surface. But I couldn't see a way for it to work here. And I think Chinese at this point, I'm pretty sure they're 100% win rate, barring mirrors where Chinese technically loses. But outside that, I don't think I've seen a single person beat them in competitive on Empire Wars.
Yeah, I can't even really think of a more mismatched matchup as well. Like maybe Ottomans instead of French can sometimes feel worse on water maps, especially Empire Wars, like having what the bonuses give you, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Like,
right, but like yeah, like you kind of need to pick another top water civ. I feel like to beat China if you're not going to be playing China yourself. So just kind
yeah,
of makes sense there.
I'm trying to think. Actually, you're right. I'm trying to think of a worse one. You might be right there.
I
It's
don't think
like,
there's a worse matchup. I think French, at least for me, in all my gameplay, I feel like French has always been one of the worst water civs, right?
I think the Gallius strategies have been intriguing though. Like the Gallius idea is cool, but the problem in Empire Wars is when someone sees you scaling that, they just go above you. They go a tech up, and then any advantage you had is kind of forfeit. But we don't have to worry about getting our boots wet anymore in the series. Okay, we only had one water map. And this is kind of interesting, actually. Roos is going to come out. It feels like we never get to see Roos. It was usually getting banned, but not the highest priority in Empire Wars. It's going to be facing off against the Mongols on Hill and Dale.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of spicy. I actually don't really know what Mongols want to do on Hill and Dale with Empire Wars, right? I mean, obviously we've seen the Civ a lot on Hill and Dale in general, right? We've seen how it can play, into trade, into other strats, right, on normal gameplay. But on Hill and Dale, sorry, on Empire Wars, I actually don't think I've seen Mongols yet myself. I haven't played it at least, so I'm not sure what your game plan is, right?
I
Just
think
Keshik raid? Like, do you try to raid, but can't Reach just wall? Feels very awkward.
Yeah, I think you
Trying to get value.
scale units early on, right? Like, because you can actually get into
Yeah.
Horseman. That's kind of a cool idea, actually, like Horseman
Horseman?
earlier on. Because you have like that extra eco. You start with the
Mhm.
double pastures. If you get enough sheep together, you feel kind of cozy. Because I think genuinely the thing that we've seen is maybe an evolution in Empire Wars where everyone thought it was just going to be TC and tech boom, and that's not the reality. Actually, like we see plenty of games where someone is just full pedal to the metal nonstop. I think a perfect example is the idea of how you could open up in that first game of the series where you drop racks, go men arms. I mean, personally, I think English are the number one civ for that type of strategy in Empire Wars because they start with a farm cluster. But most civs have some level of economy that allows them to surge troops very early in the game.
Yeah, most civs have an option to get something out quickly, right? But yeah, it's just interesting, like, because I would think that Rus would be particularly hard to do anything against early game, right? They start with a wooden fortress already on their wood line, so their gameplay is really clear, right? Especially if they add a Kremlin in a smart spot, like on their front hill. How are you going to aggress again? Like,
Yeah.
where's your entry point? Where's your attack point? Not exactly sure. We have seen some Roost players going Golden Gate in this tournament. I mean, maybe that's the play here because you're already so safe. So maybe LucifroN looking to play into that a bit, try and catch VortiX out with some greedy strat and try and be aggressive. Maybe that's again, like we're saying, we're just kind of predicting because their internal meta is going to be just layers and layers deep. So like saying exactly what's going to happen until we start seeing the game unfold, it's going to be pretty hard to just guess what these players are going to do. Who knows? Maybe LucifroN has some strat with Mongols on this map where you just spam traders. I I don't know.
I don't know if it's the traders or the sheep, but I can hear someone calling me in, Winston. It's about
Bah.
time.
Oh, sorry.
It could,
Love
no,
sheep.
no, you're right. They are. They're yearning for us to get into the game because this could be the final game of this series. VortiX already two up. Nothing but perfection would give LucifroN third place.
Mhm.
Let's see if he can do it.
Let's go. All
So
right.
Mongols versus Rus, and you were saying it's kind of hard to gauge how this is going to play out. I think step one for me was going to be looking at the spawns, and one detail that idea of a Kremlin for the Rus that I already like for him. Look at where his gold is. He actually got the most cozy spawn drop for like a Kremlin defense here, right? With the gold and the wood in that area.
Yeah, he is. He is a nice map, but at the same token, Mongols have a pretty safe trade as well on that left side. Could probably do something crazy there. I'm not exactly sure. what they're thinking. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. The Kremlin going up right in the middle. That's kind of what I was talking about, right? It's like,
Yeah.
where's your attack point if the Kremlin just goes smack dab in the center of their middle like attack point, and if they just build their fortified palisades on the sides, like they're so snug that they're FC 2TC. Maybe even just booming until imp, but probably more
Okay.
likely just getting knights out on the field. Here is going to be the play here. Get some map control, try and contest the relics is probably VortiX's plan with that Kremlin placement. That's what it tells me at least. Whereas
Yeah.
LucifroN, Deer Stones, no trade.
I like this though. So this is cool. I first saw Numidan do this type of thing. Trade is still potentially on the menu. The idea is you rush Deerstone and you go multi-TC. But the cool thing is actually, if you still want to go trade, you can afford to send a few villages out to build marketplaces, right? You have a big economy already. And the Yam is just going to ensure that with an economy this big, you're going to have plenty of wood and extra gold in the banks in the first few minutes of the game. I actually think Silver Tree is kind of like just very overrated in Empire War starts. I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah. Trade poo-poo on a stick, guys. Do dear.
I'm not sure. I feel like you have the resources to both build the trade and defend the trade, so I'm less concerned. It looks like this I'm going to be going
no,
for
no.
TC though, right? He's got
Winston,
the,
I'm not saying you can't trade. I'm saying that by having Deerstone, buffing up the movement speed of this many villages, you could get scaling into trade quicker with just marketplace drops, right?
I see.
Like, it's pretty crafty, right?
Looks like he's just going to be going for that TC build for Mongols though.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing as well, is you have that flex. Like, if you go Silver Tree, okay, it's trade. But if you go Deerstone, it could still be trade, or it could be TC boon. It's a pretty cool difference that you don't really see in normal play, because your economy is so small that Silver Tree is kind of like doubling your eco, right, in the next few minutes. But if you think about how much bigger your economy would be 3 minutes from now, building a Silver Tree versus its size now, percentage-wise, it's a lot smaller, right?
Yes, that makes sense. As the TCs come down on the hunt for both players, so probably TCFC for both here.
I
Try and
think so.
contest relics.
Have we? I feel like we've seen everyone just at the highest level at least move away from the trip TC Roost build. Like, I don't know about you, but I was always a bigger fan of 2 TC Fast Castle because of the relics as the next objective.
When the Abbey of the Trinity was the meta, I think that's why the 2 TCFC was the better play, because you could get the Abbey right away. But now people have realized the long-term value of the High Trade House is just generally better, I think, and it just fits better with the 3TC. Like, you can play safer, you can just play longer. I think people understanding the limits to which Roost can go. Also, the Kremlin made a big difference on 3TC versus 2TC, right? Kremlin just protecting a 3TC play much better in the last year has definitely contributed as well to, I think, the strat differentiation there. But yeah, the FCs are coming in for both players. LucifroN going to be much later than VortiX.
That's because he stopped off to push out some Keshiks. Interesting choice, actually. He's double producing them. And you hit on this at the start of the game. Like, where's your attack point? This makes sense if you want to trade. But if your goal is simply to kill villages, the walls are already going up from VortiX. And those are Roost walls.
Yeah, you might be able to kill a walling vill or two here, because VortiX is going for some really big walls. So if this Khan spots the wallers on the right here, these Keshiks are going to get value. And it looks like he's going to walk right over there and see this happening. And VortiX is being super greedy, right? I was just envisioning a small wall on the right side there. And here come the Keshiks. The scout can block the wall spot very comfortably here. Multiple vills. The High Trade House even is going to be going down here. This is a bold play here. He's got to block the wall spot.
Is he going to get it? No, he's getting it. He's actually getting the scouts too late. VortiX, just keep running. Keep running, keep gunning. The body blocks out. Scout.
He's in.
He's going to get there. He blocks it, but check. You can quickly short wall here. But VortiX, instead, realizing it's a little bit too late, has to run all the way home.
Canceling that High Trade House. He's going to build a gate and run through it.
Dude, imagine if he just built it on the other side. Imagine if he legit just drops the High Trade House on the other side. He's not going to.
I think he's going to run back to his base, but there's another Keshik here, but not really going to get damage. I mean, that's meaningful damage. We talked about how he was going to have a faster age up, not faster anymore. So maybe, oh no, it's still going to be way faster actually, because LucifroN smells blood here, so he's really investing in these Keshik, so he's going to have to use these against Castle Age Knights very shortly, unless he just kills all the vills somehow. He's going to get a vill pick here. Oh.
Nope. He's a Keshik, my friend. I think that's like 2 HP. if I had to put an
Yeah.
estimate on it.
In the dream, you had to guess. If you had to guess, if you had to wager, you'd say 3.5.
Like, you know,
maybe.
there was something left of the bar there, you know. It was more than a chip on a plate. But now he won't be able to move around and punish these techers on the southern corner because on this south side there has been a less greedy wall made by VortiX. So there's no in and out on that backside of the base.
And now with this setup, like this is where I kind of question 11 Keshiks on the field. I guess it'll buy him a lot of time because if he just keeps trading against the Knights, forcing these Knights to stay home is his best bet. If the Knights come across the map to him, he has much less like innate defenses, right? LucifroN would have a lot of problems if the Knights get into his eco, right? So he's going to need to figure this out. Looks like he's now navigating around the left, just trying to pin in the Knights, keep them home.
It is a cool idea, actually, now that you mention it. Because, like, when you have this many Keshiks, then it's not just about mirroring the Knights. It's the fact that even with tech advantage, if you fight them, you're going to win every day of the week, right? It's not just the quantity. It's the fact that you're healing with these advantage numbers, right? Like, look, he's like, oh, great. Every time you try and engage me, I tank a little bit more. And now the big idle time force is a flood from LucifroN. Lucy, behind this, is scaling even more Keshiks, so still not clicking up.
Now running into the gremlins. They were called. That's not that many gremlins on the field. Running back into the woodline again for the second do-si-do.
Oh my God. I mean, this is multi-pronged aggression, right? But the crazy part is usually, like, we're 7 minutes into a game. Most people who play Age of Empires, they're used to this being like 4 Keshiks, 5 Keshiks. This is 15 Keshiks.
But I gotta say, I still think that our original analysis was right. Look at the worker kills. One Vil, like that was a lot of investment to kill one Vil. He does still have map control, right? So as long as he's retaining that, I think it's worth it for Mongols. They need this in order to have good like mid-game play. Whereas Rus are kind of comfortable in this position as well. So I think both civs in a way playing to their strengths right now. But we'll see as the stables continue to pump out these Knights. A third stable even, and the blacksmith probably for Boyar, right?
It has to be, right, boys? And you probably want to get like your melee tech upgrade if it's just going to be melee on melee. The interesting thing to think about here, though, is, right, like you said, he hasn't killed many villagers, but I want you to think about this. Look at their military, now look at the tech difference. Look at the eco. Sure, he only killed 1 villager, but the idle time is clearly added up because VortiX's numbers don't not make sense eco or military-wise for a guy who's been age ahead for like, what, almost 2 minutes?
Yeah, he's down 1 Vil, but he had the TC. Like, that's the 1 Vil, right? Their TCs were pretty similar timing. Looks like he was forced to idle his TCs just a wee bit there. Not sure if he got textiles, actually. He may have gotten that during all those raids. That could be another Vil. Yeah, he got textiles, so that's another Vil.
So when you think about it, though, like when you now look at the armies, LucifroN, although he's slowing the tech up, I don't feel like VortiX necessarily got anything clear that was an advantage from that. In that LucifroN still has quite a lot of Keshiks, and the reserve bank, it's not like VortiX had all this to spend once the Keshiks died, right? Like, he's still barely getting by, and another scary thought here is, you know, pastures can kind of scale you up easier than mass farming, which is something that VortiX is going to have to worry about in his future.
Yeah, and these 5 Keshiks are in on the right side, so they're causing some hassle, and meanwhile he's just going to whack away at the walls, threatening this high trade house, and he's even, I like this posture on the right as well, threatening, if these Vils run through that gate, they're going to run right into these Keshiks. But the gremlins will be wisely... Ooh.
Almost coming out. As there's now play onto the relics here. VortiX on his way home with 1, and LucifroN now only moving out for them himself. So we might end up with a 2-3 split as both are looking to contest that objective.
Yeah, this is... It's starting to add up now for LucifroN. These little raids are starting to add up, forcing the engagement. These numbers, like you said before, when your Keshiks are just healing like this is a super good engagement for you. Meanwhile, oh, big raid on the food.
Oh, no troops here to defend, so it's only going to be the new to produce Keshiks. And like in a 1-on-1, you would favor a knight to win that. But the goal here, as we've already highlighted, is for LucifroN to never have that 1-on-1, right? Putting it in StarCraft terms, he's the Zerger very clearly in these engagements. And now he's able to Zerg on through, breaks through the wall. So we'll push people away from the deer. And that's another food source that VortiX no longer has. Look at his income. This is abysmal.
But look at the food, look at the kills. The worker kills are really starting to add up. VortiX, who didn't have the Vil lead just a moment ago, now with the 5 Vil lead, and when you're doing this mirror kind of style, when you're making knight on knight, because that's essentially what this matchup is right now, like, every villager matters, right? Like, every single one counts, and VortiX floating 1,000 wood, though, so
Yeah.
things are dicey both ways, right? 1,400 gold on the front side, so the macro is kind of falling apart here, while the micro takes the priority, because keeping track of all these little knight groups and all these little raids is so important. As you can see, VortiX somehow getting away with this.
What? Like,
Can't
no.
keep getting away with
No.
this.
No, come on.
Oh, he's
He
not.
might not. He's not going to get it in time. Charge through. Oh my god, he missed the middle. Okay, and the body block as well. The scout parks in and says, no, 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 no. You must pay the toll. So, Village is being hemorrhaged on the other side of the map now. VortiX, I mean, you said those kills were important in LucifroN's base, but the whole way through, he's already had food constantly pushing in to burst this count of Keshik further forward. VortiX, where is his army?
High trade house going down as well. This hasn't even been a bad trade for the Keshiks, by the way. They did kill 2 knights there. One of them's about to die as well. The Uva's depleted. That's a big notification. Hey guys, this is
game
important.
Like this.
This is what matters right now.
Can we just like get someone new, like farm complete, and starts popping up every time? And that's it.
And
He
that's
says
it.
relics as well. Get me the hell out of this game. Dude,
Wow.
What an amazing control from Lucifron there. That whole Zerg like strategy, the denial on the food.
Damn. I mean, and I talked about it at the start, right? I was like, well, like, what's really the window for opportunity? Where's the damage coming in? And I think LucifroN showed what it was. It wasn't right away, right? It was that transition into Castle Age. He just had that map control from that Keshik investment. Like 5 or 6 Keshik was easily able to beat 1 or 2 of the knights at a time. So he still had map control. And even he delayed VortiX's counterattack to the point where he just had so many more units that he could afford to lose those vills as long as he meant pressure, right? He was killing the high trade house. He was finding vills on the right. He was raiding the back golds in the back there, right? And I think it just didn't work out. I mean, honestly, I think if VortiX had walled that little right side, right, and kept his base much smaller, that game could have been a lot cleaner for him because he could have pushed out on his own terms rather than constantly running vills through the Keshik. Because once that hole was there, LucifroN never let him close it, right? And I think that's a really important element to that game, right? Is that hole stayed open that entire time, and he kept pushing in and raiding and making sure that there were gremlins always running around that back loop, right? There were knights always chasing the Keshik and the Khan on that right side, and it just added up, man. It just added up a lot. That's impressive stuff.
I think the impressive part about this is that it kind of shows you the weak point of being on your high ground on like Hill and Dale. It's almost like when you think about VortiX's position, imagine if he picked, say, English instead. I mean, obviously he couldn't because he already used it in the series, but as an example of a civ that can function there, where they can very cost efficiently transition to farms. So they don't necessarily have to go out onto the berries, out into the deer, play these weird flanks and expose themselves, right? Like there's going to come a time where you have to come out of Hill and Dale, but it's much later. Whereas in this matchup, it felt like both civs are tempo controllers. But the reality is that VortiX never had the ability to do that when he's trying to scale knights into Keshiks, right? Like it's a very dicey one. And I think it shows one of those points that we made true where scaling units in feudal age is beneficial, right? Versus naked castle age with greed.
Well, I feel like there's a little more to it than just that, though. I feel like that Castle Age could have been extremely effective had he maybe gone the Abbey, actually.
Okay.
Because he went for this high trade house in just like the craziest 2 locations. So his age up was really delayed, right? Like his strat did not go as planned, right? If that wall had gone up, I think we would have been looking at a completely different game, right? So I think saying like, oh, the aggression paid off and it did or it didn't, like it really kind of feels I don't want to say a fluke, but like LucifroN definitely got away with his strat, right? In a way that I think VortiX maybe could have planned around differently, right? Like I was saying, maybe you just go Abbey and then you have knights to heal. You can heal your knights after the attack from the Keshik, so you kind of nullify the healing advantage. And then also you could grab the relics to boost your economy on a 2 TCFC. We used to see this strat all the time, right? It was a very popular strat, and I think maybe in this case on Empire Wars that could have been a play. But again, it's really easy for me to say that here, right? Like Empire Wars is a completely different beast, and playing against LucifroN is not easy. So I'm not going to go around saying that, like, oh, he should have done this, but maybe that's a consideration, right?
Playing against VortiX ain't easy either, right? Like, playing against either of these guys ain't easy. So it's an absolute bombshell when we get them in the same lobby. This best of 5 continues on, folks. A point on the board for LucifroN, a potential reverse sweep, especially when we get a matchup like this. This is a peculiar one. Basin, VortiX has got Malians. You'd think insta GG, how can he be beaten? But if there's one civ that has had this omni capability, this flexi, in any circumstance, I feel like Abbasid's is ticking that box right now. And that's in the hands of LucifroN.
Man, VortiX adding in the Dunzos right away. That's interesting timing. Maybe he's just a little concerned with any sort of aggression. He just doesn't want to risk it out all. He wants to pressure this eco wing as well, maybe, if he knows that that's what's coming. Maybe just trying to get this aggressive position on it. Deny the stone. Deny a really good placement on the hunt. 1 or 2 Donzos can definitely be quite annoying. I'm not sure if it's enough, though.
You know what? Like, now that you bring up the Donzos, I think there's so many layers to this. So you said it's about like delaying the eco wing, as in its TC placement. Yes, but also consider Abbasid Dark Age trade. You couldn't do it now because like Donzos, despite the fact how hard it is for infantry to usually shut things down, the javelin throw makes that a bit easier. And then there's a third layer to this, funnily enough, and that's military wing. Like, if you were doing the initial unit spawns to kind of be aggro play, Donzos can even beat those archers because the javelin range is 6.5 tiles and archers are only 5. So this is like multifaceted. It almost shuts down any of the desirable openings from the Abbasids.
And even forcing this tower out on the stone. This outpost going to be enough, though. One Donzo might even die for this. Not even going to garrison. Says you run away.
I'm happy with that.
I'm happy with
you
this.
remember, okay?
Well, the goal is to get the stone for the TC ASAP, right? He only has so much time, so not even wasting time shooting these Donzo. I would almost dive in with them if I were VortiX. Maybe even get the kill on the low HP Vil.
Maybe. No, it's garrison them in, so it's going to be safe there. The worry that I now have, actually, is that all these Donzos are situated south side. VortiX needs to move north side, man. Like, stick 1 or 2 Donzos really far south on that deer pack against the edge of the map. But this, like, to the north is #1 location for LucifroN right now between the berries and the deer to drop the TC.
Yeah. If he could keep that safe, that'd be really sick for LucifroN, but we'll see where he ends up placing it. He has lots of opportunities, and I have a feeling this is going to be multi-TC. I don't think he's going to stop at just one. Looks like he's going to go south away from the Donzos, where there's gold, berry, and deer as well.
This is signature LucifroN play as well. Like, this guy absolutely loves edge TCs. If you remember, like, even in like French Mirrors, right, where, you know, usually you have to worry about defending. I remember that was where he really started to show it a lot, where he'd drop a town center literally right against the edge of the map so that you couldn't raid from multiple flanks. And if you check that TC placement, there is a lot of resources there, yes. But it also is hard to sneak around, right? You can't get in with LucifroN not seeing.
Yeah. And I guess the third town center just going to go on the left there, protecting the wood line. So the gold a bit exposed for now, but again, like you said, the gold on the south going to be the play. So LucifroN, 3 TC. Is he going for a 4th TC?
This is 4 TC play. Like, it had to be, right? When he drops the TC in that center tree line, there's still the north side. He hasn't covered that with any defenses. So he's going to drop a TC probably near the deer and the berries further out. And then you've essentially got your own, like, discount Magano line for the Middle East here, right?
Yeah, but we saw some issues with the Magano line there, right? Like, you can just kind of go around. So we'll see. I mean, I don't think he was really covering every entrance there. Maybe on the golds in the back there, he kind of needs to keep safe. Maybe he'll haul it all the way north to the stone and the berries or something. I don't know. The deer, though, make the most sense to me. Like you were saying. I think you're right.
And it's like, you can try to bridge it in a way that it shuts off the entire north gap, but that's quite a wide gap. Whereas if you drop it right next to the deer, it's like you at least have yourself pressed against the edge of the map. So the only way you can be pulled out there is if your opponent decides to invest in like a ram rush. But we're not getting a ram rush. The letters for that do exist in this word. Farimba Garrison coming out.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up because we've been seeing VortiX macroing for the Castle Age, but he hasn't been adding cattle. He only added the 3. You basically start with 2, so if you can keep those cattle alive, maybe he just added those like really easily. But now that's maybe enough to keep your TC going. And is he just going to put every single Vil on gold and just try and win the game here? Like,
I think so. And you know what's crazy as well is actually that I wonder if that initial launch was a bait, because LucifroN, he went down to 1 scout. So I imagine initially he went out checking what his opponent was doing. He saw ranches. He's like, okay, Fulani. He loses one of the scouts, and now he has to worry about where these Donzos are going, right? So if we can check where LucifroN's scout is, I think he's just at home. Oh, that is crazy, man. That is disgusting.
Yeah, and Donzo jabs are going to be nuts here. Like, that's a really tough comp to beat. It's not easy to come up with a solution to that combo. It takes quite a lot of time to, like, muster units. Usually Castle Age units are what you need. Like Man-at-Arms or something. Gulams would be good here, but is LucifroN's Castle Age going to be in time? He needs another, like, 2 minutes, right? And he's
Yeah,
still getting harassed, and he's adding towers and stuff, and that's just going to keep delaying him. He doesn't even have wheelbarrow here, whereas VortiX has all the feudal ecotechs.
It's so much worse than that. What I want you to also realize is like he can start that tech up, but you know what might cost him with this pacing?
Everything.
It might end up costing.
Oh, sorry.
Everything's not straight away, okay? Because these guys like to make you suffer a little bit, even though they're bros. But eventually, everything, yes. It's gonna cost him the 2 TCs to the south because they aren't protected with extra fire armor.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if that comes into play here. Probably going to happen. Not sure what the plan is here for VortiX. He's kind of, in a way, he's kind of played into the timer that LucifroN put, right? Like, if you think about how TC play works, right? It's like, okay, I'm on 4 TC, you're on 1. You need to kill me now, right? But by building for Rimba, he's saying, okay, I will kill you now. Instead of maybe going into the really strong Malian eco, right? Which could maybe even compete with 4 TC right away, right? Like, you could get a really strong castle timing, maybe.
That
So
sounds like the beginning. Like that kind of sounds like the beginning of a childish song. Like I've got 4 TC, you've got 1. I have all resources, you have none. I'm dead. That's pretty much every Abbasid player ever, right? Like, when was the last time we saw 4 TC work?
Oh, all the time, man. When does it not work? On the ladder, it's quite strong, right? Like it's fine, man. You just go it. Like what are they gonna do? Attack you? Come on.
Yeah, like we've got gentleman's agreement, right? No fighting before 10 minutes.
I mean, I still feel like wheelbarrow.
You're
like
really locked on this.
I'm really hung up. Like no wheelbarrow really does hurt me and kill me a little bit inside, but that's okay. So Millwing, the camel's not going to be super useful right away, but I think the bigger deal here is that he can get boot camp for Gulams, although he's going stable, so he's thinking about going Lancers.
He disagrees with your assessment of boot camp, but it's kind of interesting, right? Because VortiX has built quite a lot of javelins, and his army is only designed to kill villagers right now. It feels like VortiX needs to start to flesh this out a bit, but so far becomes kind of difficult to do at scale, right? Because you don't have the mass ranches with Fulani, so you're kind of locked into either the Javs or the Donzos.
Kind of gets triple stable and double range, so it looks like he's going to go a mobility comp, maybe Camel Archer Lancer.
Okay.
Which is pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy to go into Danza Jav. Like, I feel like you're countering yourself, but whatever. Whatever. Well, I bet LucifroN is going to have a better idea than me about this, so I'm excited to see how they play this.
Okay,
like,
it's going to be
Millwing.
So Millwing, maybe he wants. What if he mass archers plus horsemen, like with comp support?
Oh, so it wasn't Camel Rider. Yeah, right. Yeah, just going compost. Okay, that makes way more sense. Never mind. Yeah, no, I'm dumb.
Yeah, because like camel archers.
There it is.
You can build camel archers, Winston, but you can also like stick your head in the toilet.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah, I don't know why I said that. Combo makes way more sense. I thought it was gonna be like a boot camp man at arms. Never mind. Whatever. I'm moving on because clearly he's got 80 vills. That's quite a lot, so I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, he can afford to hemorrhage at this pace. Like VortiX's army is just not big enough. It kind of feels like Farimba sometimes feels out of place in Empire Wars, right? Because that very strong timing, almost like a Burgrave would feel as well. Like your eco is so big that you can almost just build the buildings by default and flood, right? And now it feels like getting that sofa mass has maybe been delayed to where it would normally be because you don't have the extra Fulani.
He's not even running the Farimba right now. Did you notice that? It's not even training anything at this moment.
He's kind of lacking the gold right now, to be honest with you, buddy. I think he was he migrating to the next gold vein? He must have been.
Yeah, he's got the gold set up on the north. Maybe that's what he's planning for. I don't know what's going on with his macro, but it's not super appealing to me right now. Although switching out of Danzo Jav, what wins, Jav in Castle Age or Campos?
It's going to come down to, I think more than anything, it's the blacksmith upgrades. Look at what LucifroN's got, and look what VortiX doesn't have. That's what's going to win him the fight right now. This is kind of nuts. If he can actually match the size of this army, he has level 2 ranged damage. VortiX is only now getting under mesh, and that's a level 1 range defense. Charge in though, and remember what we said. There's no torch. There's no torch resistance here. Look how quickly these TCs are going to die.
Yeah, but here comes the defending army. The Javelin's going to try and zone away these Cav.
No, we ain't defending. Like, wait, Abbasid who? I don't know that guy. Oh
I
man.
just don't know if like cavalry archer works into Danzo Jav. Like I do kind of question this choice, but it's okay. It's really interesting. Whoa, the torches!
Come on,
Oh
dude.
my god.
Disgusting
Yo, those torches
man.
just got yoinked, man.
Okay, hear me out. It's inefficient because that torch throw range is lower than the javelin throw range. Boom. There we go.
Boom.
Marlins don't need to be nerfed, guys. They're totally a reasonable sim.
I mean,
Oh, he's so dying here so quickly.
yeah, he doesn't have units that can like tank or fight this yet. So we're gonna see if 20 horsemen can beat 16 Danzo.
No.
It's actually gonna be 20
No.
Danzo, right?
They can beat this, so they can beat this one. This one right here, yeah,
The
he's
sofa?
dead. Yeah, but these ones, not so much Winston, especially the villagers can't fight back against this. They're just going to run across the field, try and buy time for LucifroN. Now, he still has got the third TC alight and alive, but I think it might be burnt to a crisp because it looks like VortiX left a few troops there.
Oh,
That one villager, believe.
I have a job to do. Oh,
We salute him.
they're microing this.
Oh, what? Come on, come on, come on. Come on, no!
This can't be worth.
I mean, if they're both focused on it, right? Ah, he almost saves it as well. Can he keep it alive?
No.
Final volley, man. That's unfortunate. 2 more seconds, and he would have been able to clean up these Donzos and kept it up. So now, like, he's 20 villagers ahead, but he's only 2 TC. I think he's going to, like, maybe try to add more in. I don't think he has any access to stone to do that.
Bro, he lost 33 vills. That was nuts. That was
And
a
he's
lot.
still 20 ahead.
Oh,
He's
but he
still
catches
20
the
ahead.
army. He catches the army without the spears. Where are the Danzo? What?
They're having a party.
What
I
is
think
this?
they ran back to home. But you know what? This is kind of crazy. Like, with the sofas on their own, I'm not necessarily convinced. The Donzos finally show up. There's going to be a wraparound attempt onto the jabs, but it's so many dead horsemen. And, you know, we're nowhere near a farm transition yet for the Abbasid. So this is like your lifeline. This is your lifeblood. If this army dies, you don't have what it takes to rebuild, and it's dead.
That was as good as a fight as he could have asked for without any of the spearmen for that long, right? Like the fact that that was even an option to take that fight was crazy. That was on the table. But yeah, that was
a wild game.
That was a wild game. 4TC
Yo.
and the Horseman was not what I expected into Farimba.